August 1994. A 23-year-old quarterback stood in a Green Bay Packers locker room holding a piece of paper that said he'd been cut. He drove back to Iowa and applied at a grocery store for the next year. 5 years later, he was Super Bowl MVP. How does someone go from unwanted at 23 to the best quarterback on the planet at 28? And what does that say about how badly the NFL misreads people?
He wasn't ready. He wasn't recruited out of high school. He only played a year in college. He didn't get drafted. He shouldn't have been drafted.
Long before that Super Bowl trophy, before anyone outside of Iowa knew his name, Warner was a regular kid who came from a working-class family in Burlington, Iowa. His parents separated when he was just 4 years old, and his mom worked multiple jobs to keep things together, sometimes 3 at a time. Growing up, there was one plan: football. Not because anyone told him that's what he should do, but because he was good enough to believe it could work. He got a Division I scholarship to Northern Iowa, which sounded impressive until you realized it was a Division I AA, not the level scouts watched. And even there, he spent 3 years as the third-string quarterback, watching other guys play while he waited for his turn. But when senior year finally came, he got his shot and started putting up solid numbers. Led the conference in total offense and won the Gateway Conference Offensive Player of the Year. Good numbers. Good enough to make him think maybe the NFL would notice. But when the 1994 NFL Draft came around, nobody called his name. So Warner did what undrafted guys do when they still believe, and signed with Green Bay as a free agent, took a $5,000 bonus, and showed up ready to compete. The quarterback room he walked into had Brett Favre, Mark Brunell, and Ty Detmer, with head coach Mike Holmgren, quarterback coach Steve Mariucci, and offensive assistant Andy Reid. Warner was trying to make a roster that already had 3 quarterbacks who could play. And that's when everything fell apart. During one practice, Mariucci called for Warner to take his turn in a drill, and Warner hesitated, didn't step up when he was supposed to. Holmgren saw it, lost it.
Mooch asked Pop to go in. He's like, I'm not going in. He wasn't ready.
And here's what made this moment devastating. That one hesitation was all they needed to see. August 1994. Warner got the paper, cut before the season even started, before he could prove anything. This wasn't a near miss. It was a full stop. The NFL had told him he didn't belong. After Green Bay let him go, the phone stayed quiet and no team called. Warner packed his stuff and drove back to Iowa. The NFL had moved on. But there was one person who hadn't. Brenda, former Marine, divorced with 2 kids. One of them, Zachary, was blind and brain damaged after being dropped by her ex-husband, which is why she'd been discharged from the Marines and had to come home to raise both kids alone. When she looked at Kurt Warner, she didn't see a guy who just got cut. She saw something the league couldn't. So here's the situation in 1994. Warner had no job in football, no backup plan, and Brenda was depending on him with 2 kids to take care of, one who needed constant care. And the one thing he thought he was built for had just told him he wasn't good enough. Most guys would have walked away, but Warner applied at the Hy-Vee grocery store in Cedar Falls and got hired for the night shift. $5.50 an hour, stocking shelves from close to 5 in the morning so he could train during the day. Because in his head, this wasn't over. The NFL said no, and he was betting they were wrong. A man the NFL has already rejected, with nothing left to fall back on, and a family depending on him. What does he do next? And why does it actually work? But stop for a second, because most people tell this story wrong. They go through the Arena League years, then NFL Europe, then the bench in St. Louis, like Warner was just waiting around for his moments. But that misses the entire point. Here's what nobody tells you about the Warner story. The Super Bowl isn't the story. The 6 years of invisible work that made it possible is the story. So in 1995, Warner signed with the Iowa Barnstormers in the Arena Football League and threw for 2,980 yards and 43 touchdowns while the team went 7-5 and made the playoffs. Nobody from the NFL showed up. Warner wasn't consolation prizing his way through this. He was putting up numbers that would translate to the NFL, but the scouts just weren't watching. The year after that, 1996, he was named All-Arena First Team and led the Barnstormers all the way to the Arena Bowl. They lost, but Warner was putting up numbers that would have worked anywhere. This was proof of concept, not a detour. The league just hasn't noticed yet. And then, in 1997, the same thing happened. All-Arena First Team again, another Arena Bowl run, another loss, and another year of scouts not watching. The pattern was becoming clear. Warner was ready, the NFL wasn't looking. But by December 1997, something shifted. The St. Louis Rams finally signed him. This was it, right? Warner was back in the NFL. But the Rams immediately sent him to NFL Europe like he was some raw prospect who needed to develop. Amsterdam Admirals, 1998. Warner was 26 years old at this point, getting shipped overseas to prove himself all over again. So, he did exactly that. He started all 10 games and led the entire league in passing yards, completions, and touchdowns, then got named NFL Europe MVP while dominating a league designed for younger players trying to figure it out. And when he came back to St. Louis, they put him behind two other quarterbacks on the depth chart. Third string.
We were impressed enough to sign him. Did we know what we were signing? Not one of us.
He was inactive for 14 of 16 games, and the one game he actually played, the final week against San Francisco, he went 4 of 11 for 39 yards. The Rams finished 4-12, the worst team in their division. Every year was a different version of the same rejection. Not a door slamming shut, but a door that cracked open just enough to see inside. Every week, Warner prepared like he was starting, studied film like he was starting, and every week, he watched someone else take the snaps. And then the 1999 offseason happened, and the Rams left Warner unprotected in the NFL expansion draft. The Cleveland Browns had the first pick of every unprotected player in the league, and the Rams were fully expecting him to get taken. He didn't. Warner stayed in St. Louis by accident. But then, on August 28th, 1999, everything changed. Third preseason game. The Rams starting quarterback, Trent Green, was having the kind of night that makes franchises believe. Completing every single pass, looking unstoppable, looking like exactly what the Rams thought they'd signed. Then Rodney Harrison came in low on a planted leg, and Green's knee buckled. Torn ACL. The season Green was supposed to have was over before it started. The Rams front office thought their season just died with that injury, and Dick Vermeil was in tears at the press conference, trying to hold it together while the cameras rolled.
We will rally around Kurt Warner, and we'll play good football.
Nobody believed him when he said it, and Vermeil didn't even sound like he believed himself. But week 1 was 7 days away. Warner was about to step into a starting job he'd been ready for since 1995. And here's the part that matters. What happens in week 1 is going to rewrite everything we think we know about how the NFL evaluates quarterbacks. Week 1, 1999. Warner steps into the starting lineup for the first real start of his NFL career and goes 28 of 44 for 309 yards, and the Rams win. The Rams go on a run that no one in the league predicted. But the more interesting question isn't what happened. It's why the NFL missed him for 6 years. So week 2 comes and they win again. Then week 3, same results. The pattern's starting to form. And then by week 4 against San Francisco, Warner throws 5 touchdowns in a 42-20 blowout, and that game ends a 17-game losing streak to the 49ers dating back to 1990. The kind of losing streak that defines a franchise. Gone in one afternoon.
It's like Oprah. You get a touchdown. You get a touchdown. Like everybody, you're watching this team and you're like, this isn't a joke.
Sports Illustrated puts Warner on their cover in October with a headline that says it all. Who is this guy? The wins keep coming, and nobody can figure out where this came from. By the end of the season, the Rams finished 13-3, and Warner ended the year with 41 touchdown passes, which at the time was the second most in NFL history. He wins the NFL MVP. The offense gets a nickname, the greatest show on turf. Marshall Faulk at running back, Isaac Bruce and Torrey Holt at receiver, Mike Martz calling plays that defenses can't keep up with. And then the playoffs start. Warner throws for 391 yards and 5 touchdowns against Minnesota in the divisional round. Then in the NFC Championship against Tampa Bay, he throws 3 picks, but the defense holds strong and the Rams win 11-6. 1 game away from everything. And then comes Super Bowl 34. St. Louis Rams versus Tennessee Titans at the Georgia Dome in Atlanta. Warner goes 24 of 45 for 414 yards and 2 touchdowns, and Isaac Bruce catches a 73-yard bomb with under 2 minutes left to put the Rams ahead. But the Titans get the ball back one last time and drive all the way down the field. Final play of the game, Kevin Dyson catches a pass at the 10 and gets tackled at the 1. The Rams need him to stay down, 1 yard short. Time expires. Rams win 23-16. Kurt Warner gets handed the Super Bowl MVP trophy, the greatest single season by a first-year starter in NFL history. But here's the question nobody was asking. If Warner was this good in 1999, what was he in 1998? What was he in Amsterdam when he led an entire league in every major category? What was he in the Arena League, putting up those numbers? The film was there, the stats were there, and Warner didn't become elite the moment Trent Green got hurt. He already was. The NFL just wasn't built to see it. And here's why. The scouting system in the 1990s was built to filter for pedigree. Big programs, early draft picks, measurables. Warner failed every filter. Wrong school, wrong path, wrong league. He wasn't a fluke. He was a data point the system wasn't designed to capture. So if the system missed Warner, it missed others. The question isn't whether he deserved to be here, it's how many more players like him never got the grocery store shift that changed everything. If one preseason injury was the only reason Kurt Warner got a chance, then the scouting system had already failed long before Trent Green ever got hurt. Warner's career doesn't vindicate the system. It indicts it. The system got lucky. He earned it. For 6 years, from that Packers locker room in August 1994 to the Super Bowl podium in January 2000, the NFL kept telling Kurt Warner the same thing. You're not good enough. They cut him before he could take a snap, ignored him in the draft, and sent him to arena football like it was some minor league for guys who couldn't make it. Then they shipped him to NFL Europe at 26 like he still needed to develop, kept him on the bench in St. Louis while they built around someone else, and left him unprotected in an expansion draft like he was replaceable. Every year, a different version of the same message. And the whole time, one person never moved. Brenda Warner. She married him in October 1997, 2 years before any of this happened, back when he had nothing to show except some Arena League tape and a backup spot on the worst team in football. She had 2 kids, one of them blind and brain damaged from an accident that had already cost her a career in the Marines, and she'd already given up more than most people will in a lifetime. And she looked at Kurt Warner and saw what the entire league refused to see. So when Warner walked off that field in Atlanta, holding the Super Bowl 34 MVP award, when the confetti fell around him, that moment wasn't just his. It was hers. It belonged to a family that absorbed every year of invisible work together. The Warner story isn't just about football. It's about what happens when you stay ready for a door that everyone else has told you is permanently closed. Those 6 years between the Packers locker room and the Super Bowl podium weren't luck. They were the result of preparation nobody was watching. The NFL didn't find Kurt Warner. Kurt Warner outlasted the NFL's ability to ignore him. The question isn't whether Kurt Warner belonged in the NFL. The question is how a system this confident in itself missed him for 6 years and never had to answer for it. So if this story made you think differently, hit that like button, comment on what you want us to cover next, and subscribe for more stories like this. You won't want to miss them.